Southern Comfort here. My name is Cammie, and I'm out into the garden. Today we're going to be talking about potatoes. When to harvest potatoes. A lot of people wonder when to harvest potatoes. Well, first of all, you got to know your variety. You got to know the days of maturity. Some potatoes take 60 to 90 days. Some take up to 120 days. But the one main important thing I have learned is know your environment. Know your weather into your area. And that usually comes with time and experience. Here on the southeast coast, I know that the rains are going to come. I would love to have my potatoes just die out, the vines, the bush to die out, which is usually, that is the proper way to do it. Just let your plants die completely out and then go into harvest. But yet I have not been able to do that. I have to know my region. I have to know my area of the weather. We've got more rains coming in this afternoon around 2 o'clock. It's in the morning time. And this is something I had not planned on doing. But one of the things I always do is keep looking at my plants. If I take notice that they're dying back, I know that rains here in my area is going to be coming. And then the rains start coming. Then I still continue to watch these plants. A lot of these plants are looking beautiful. Some of the plants are dying back. But with the rains start coming in and I look at my soil into my garden area, and when I start noticing the algae and I still notice the soil is consistently wet, I know that my potatoes are in danger. So this morning I came over here to look at these potatoes before I even knew that we was going to have more rain, but I'm looking up at the sky and said, you know what, it looks like more rain's going to be coming. And I know it's getting to that time period. So I started looking at my plants, said, you know what, some of the plants are dying back and they're looking kind of pitiful, and I'm going to go ahead and dig those up because most of the time, every season, I end up hitting it where I watch the weather and notice that the rain's going to be coming and coming and coming. The soil's already wet, and I know that my potatoes are in danger. So that forces me to go and dig these potatoes up, get them out of this weather, get them into crates that gets good airflow for them to dry out. Most of the time when I dig these potatoes, they are wet, and I have to make sure that they're getting dried out so they will not rot. Another thing that I always take notice of, not only with the weather, is there pests into the soil. Like, for example, ants. Are the ants starting to eat my potatoes? So as soon as I started digging down, I noticed the ants. I'm like, okay, they're not doing damage yet, but they're in the area. They're surrounding my potatoes. So as I continue digging, I've got mature potatoes. I've got some nice sized potatoes. I've got some potatoes that can mature a little bit longer. But I can't take a chance of losing my potatoes, so I always have to call the shot when to harvest these potatoes. In about 7 days, these potatoes will go 90 days. So that's about the time span for these potatoes, 90 to 100 days. And like I said, I would love for these potato plants, bushes to die back and then harvest, and I would have some huge, humongous potatoes, even though I get a good harvest every year. So let's take a look at the potatoes I've already dug up. So I have some very nice sized potatoes. There's no complaints in the size of these potatoes. So if I want to go ahead and dig them up, that's perfectly fine. You see some that could go a little bit longer, but I've also noticed into the potatoes that some of them are starting to show effects of too much moisture. And that's not what I want. I don't want too much moisture damaging, rotting my potatoes. But as I look at this, even though this is still wet, I can tell by the skin that the moisture is starting to get to these potatoes, and I need to go ahead and start getting as many as possible out of the ground. Even though my plants look super beautiful, there are plants that are dying back, and the ones that are dying back, I'm starting to dig up. As you can tell, this is the area that I've dug so far. Just that little stretch there, that little stretch there. These are the ones that were dying back, looking very pitiful. And right there, that little area right there. I have dug around at times, a couple of times, and tried to get some small potatoes, but I took notice that they wasn't small potatoes. They was nice sized potatoes. So I knew my harvest was probably going to be pretty good. And so as I started digging, I was like, okay, this is a very good harvest right here. So far, this is really a good harvest. So these are Yukon Gold, and they're nice size. These are French fry size. All of them's perfect. I have no complaints into them. I just don't want to lose my potatoes. So I put them in this bucket since I'm digging some of them up. I'm laying them out so that that soil will start drying, because if you leave them like this, it will rot your potatoes. There's no airflow. The soil is just wet. This is what I deal with every year. So you got to know your region. You got to know your weather. You got to watch the weather. You got to know what the upcoming weather is to know when to harvest your potatoes. Even if your potatoes is small. You see this one right here? I noticed that it's not looking good, you know? And that's not what I want on my potatoes. But even if your potatoes is small, it's best to harvest the potatoes than to lose your potatoes. Just like garden peas. We have a short window of garden peas here of picking and harvesting garden peas. They're delicious. Is it worth it? Yeah, they're delicious. They're worth it. But the rains come, the powdery mildew comes on, the heat and humidity causes disease, and so we got a short window. These plants are loaded down with garden peas, just loaded down. But I won't get all the harvest that I want, but I will get the harvest that I need. And so just like potatoes, I won't get the harvest that I truly want, but I will get the harvest that I need. So now I'm going to go over here and see what potatoes. I'll just be walking through here and taking a look at these plants. When I did check the weather, I noticed that I did check the weather. I noticed that it's going to be 60% chance of rain about 2 o'clock. And I was like, wow, okay. So let me go look at these potatoes when I notice the ground is still just, it don't need no more rain. That's the last thing the soil needs is more rain, or these potatoes need more rain. So these plants right here are looking pitiful. I mean, actually, they're not looking pitiful. They're looking like they're supposed to look. See what we're getting here. And the little tiny potatoes, I will take and just leave them in the soil. They always produce plants, but so the potatoes are looking good. Will I dig all them up? I don't know. I'll have to really look at the weather and see what the weather's going to be like. Dig down a little bit further in there. Oh yeah. So this right here, the best I can tell. Nope. Uh-oh. I need my glove off. This right here, the best I can tell. I'm trying to see if that's starting to rot. Where's that? Where the sun got it? I'm looking at it. It might be where the sun is, either where the sun is starting to get to it, or it's starting to rot. And that's kind of hard to tell. I believe it's just where the sun is getting to it, which you've got to have your potatoes covered up at all times, because it'll turn them green and you can't eat that portion. Of late, I got 2, 4, 6, 8 out of that. And I want to take my my potato shovel here and turn this soil a little bit. A lot of times I'll miss potatoes. We don't want to miss no potatoes. So, and this is just how, see, that one's kind of sticking out of the ground. This is how I dig my potatoes. These little ones here are good. Before these cure, it takes 2 weeks to get them to cure. You can take these little ones or any of these potatoes and just wash them off. You don't have to cut the skins or peel the skins off of them. You can just cook them like that before they cure. These little small ones, I might just boil them, put them, can them. Usually the potatoes and these little tiny ones I'll just take off and throw in here. And so we got 1, 2, 3, oh, pretty nice. 4, little tiny one. Whoa, oh my God. 5, I have no complaints on that one. Is that super or what? So I'm looking at the skin and I'm like, you know, I do believe they're getting to that point. They got to get out of this moisture. That is awesome right there. Red potatoes, yep. So that's 5, whoa, 6, oh my God, 7, 8, 8 on that one. This right here will make you want to go ahead and dig your potatoes, I can tell you that much. I don't think there's anything deeper in there, or any potatoes deeper in that. Potato fork, you have to watch it because you can damage your potatoes. So dig right here. This will make you want to dig your potatoes. These are smaller, but I'm looking at these potato skins and they're definitely starting to get too much water. Too much. So if I get smaller potatoes, I just get smaller potatoes. Yep, they're getting too much moisture. This one might have been one I dug at. Got some potatoes out, up there. Dug and ate. So that's 3, 6 there, small ones. So that's I probably dug down there. I don't know. Me and my granddaughter was out here, and we was harvesting some potatoes. Let's dig down here. Yeah, these potato plants are starting to die back. So the leaves are keeping the soil hidden from the sun, and so it can keep the soil not drying out. Yep, these potatoes got to get out. So when are you going to harvest? Well, you're going to dig down. You can take a look at your potatoes. You're going to watch the weather. See what the weather's doing. See what the weather's doing, what it's going to be doing. I am not liking that little bunch right there. And that's a possibility because these leaves were dyed out. So the ones that had more foliage, it was able to run that water off of the potatoes, and then that way it kept the water away from away from these potatoes. This one right here looks like to me that it possibly didn't. It got more moisture, even though the soil is about the same. It still got more moisture. So what I'm going to do is dig a little bit and see what we come up with. So as I started digging, I was like, I pulled this one up and I was like, I haven't even dug, I just pulled the plant up. And I'm like, wow, that is a lot of potatoes here. Look at this. If I can get them all. Still got potatoes on there. All right. Let's see. Move this plant. Okay. So that's what we're looking at. Little ones and all. Now I got my gloves off. But when I start that, I end up keeping my gloves off. I was trying to save my hands, so we got, counting the little ones, that's 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, wow, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22. Count the little ones. Oh. 23. I don't think that would be it. 23 potatoes. Nice size. That'll make you want to dig. So we're going to take a look at the potatoes that I've already harvested. And I learned a very important tip. Something that I found out on my own is not true in my region, in my area on the southeast coast of North Carolina. And so digging these potatoes now was the right time. So let me go show you what I learned. While we're on our way down there, these are potatoes that I've already dug. And I'll be getting them out of the sun for long. I'm just letting that dirt dry on top of them. And this is usually how I do it. I'll dig them and lay them on the rows. These are beautiful, nice potatoes. I made a video on how to plant sweet potatoes too, but potatoes. These are red potatoes, Yukon Gold, and bacon potatoes I have in this garden plot. And these are nice. When I say nice, there is no exaggeration for nice. I don't know if I've ever seen red potatoes that big. People digging them, but they're super nice. All of them nice. No complaints whatsoever. No waste here at all. But what I learned was when I got to the plants that was almost died back and had no topping onto them, like everybody always says, let your potatoes die completely and then dig them. Well, I've never been able to do that. And so what I found out, the ones that had died back, those potatoes did not look that well. They just didn't look that well. They look like they're just definitely getting too much moisture. There's no leaves on the top of them to protect that water run off, and so all that water, that moisture, that rain is and humidity is going right to the potatoes, and so it was hurting the potatoes. So I took great notice on that. I kept on digging. And there's another one right there. You can tell the difference in the potatoes. They just start looking different. They just got there. If I was to wash those off, I could see that the skin is getting too much moisture. That means it wouldn't be long. These potatoes will start rotting. So what I learned is that the potatoes that are like this, they're starting to look like this, not as much as dying back like that, but like that. Those are my best looking potatoes. Those potatoes right there are planted a month later. So they're a month later. The rest of them were planted February the 14th. We are April the 7th, I think it is. 7th, 8th, somewhere around there. I think it's the 7th. So, but that's what I learned. So it's not a true statement. Wait till your potatoes die completely before you dig them up. And so the whole time I've been thinking, wishing I could get my potato plants to die before the rains comes, and it just never worked out for me because I would have lost my potatoes if I left them in the ground. It's just not a true statement for me. So I've learned when my potatoes start getting like this, I need to dig in there, get a plant up, and look and make sure, just go ahead and start harvesting. It's definitely time for me to harvest these potatoes. These potatoes on this side, some of them are still standing up. Those right on the end right there just fell down. Those are a month early, month later. And then the rest of them are falling down. So it's time for me to get the potatoes out. Beautiful potatoes though. So this is a great tip. It's not always a true statement to wait till your potato plants to die, but dig down in there, see what those potatoes are looking like. I did see where something was munching on one of the potatoes. I dropped the potato, it was just a little one, and I couldn't tell if it was like a little rat or just ants or a worm. I did find one cutworm in here and I destroyed him. And I haven't found any other insects except at the very end down there. When I started digging, I started taking notice of ants. So that was like my sign right there. I need to get the potatoes out. And so definitely the ones that were planted February 14th, I'll be working to get those up. So just want to share that with you, that maybe it's not a true statement in your area to wait till your potatoes plants to die. But with that sign, you know, you got to dig down there and see what those potatoes are doing. That's what I always do with my potatoes, with my sweet potatoes, so I can kind of judge when to dig my potatoes. And you know what? I hadn't even planned on doing this today. I thought I would just come out here with a couple plants that I knew was about completely dead or on its way out. And I did notice around the stem that it was rotting. So that was like, okay, that's a killer sign right there that it's definitely time to get them out. But I had no plan of digging potatoes today. You definitely got to go and dig down in your potatoes and see what those potatoes are doing to know when to harvest. You can't listen to what everybody else says, and not even what I'm saying. You got to learn on your own for your own region. I say that all the time. You got to learn your region. You got to learn your area. You got to learn your weather. You got to learn the vegetables that you're growing. And that comes with experience, it comes with time, and through trial and error. I don't think I've made any errors on potatoes. Honestly, I haven't made any errors. I've always called a good judgment when to harvest my potatoes. So it's definitely time for me to go ahead and get these potatoes out. And that's a lot of potatoes right there in that little bit of road there. So I had to pause. I started digging. And I was like, oh my God, I wish I had gotten that on video. Because I was just like floored with this. I don't know what the rest of them's going to hold out. But guys, check out these daggone potatoes. Look how huge they are. Red potatoes. Most people call these Nordland potatoes. I just call them red potatoes. That's the way I was raised. But isn't that tremendously big? So I was like, man, that's the first 4 I dug up. So I'm like, potato fork's really good. You got to watch it. You don't poke it. Try to get down there. It's really good. It helps out. You can do a lot of digging with your hand. And there might not be anything else up in here. That might have just been the ones on the side. But when I looked at those potatoes, I was like, oh my God, is this perfect timing or what? So I'm gonna dig down here, more potatoes. I just did not know I'd be digging potatoes today. Look at that. Is that beautiful? Isn't that beautiful? To me, it's beautiful. This is like, oh, I mean, it's just beautiful. When you get a harvest like this, you're just like, oh my God. It's like, wow. Dig down in here. I try to use my little potato there I'm missing. I try to use my potato fork a little bit, as much as possible. Sometimes you got to watch it, you'll stab them. Some of them I noticed that went deeper, so I try to shuffle the dirt up a little bit. You notice my rows are high. They're high. I plant mine up on hills, high hills, because I've lost my potatoes before. And if I hadn't planted them even like this, I probably would have lost these potatoes. And I take all the little ones off. Some of these little tiny ones, I'll just leave them in the ground. But I've lost my potatoes before. And it taught me to plant my potatoes, not like everybody else, but plant it Cammie's way. And that's what I do. With all my gardening, I just plant it Cammie's way, because every time I try to plant like other people, some people say to do, it doesn't work. Now, yeah, I get some good tips like everybody else here and there, but got hair in my mouth. But that's why I wear gloves, because I can't operate the camera and with dirt. But and looking at this one, this is showing me signs that ants are starting to get into this. We got to get these babies out. So we'll just look down here. Nice size potato. No complaints on that. So if you wonder if the method that I use to planting potatoes is right, because some people say it's not, well, it's working in my area. It's always worked. These are beautiful potatoes. But definitely need to get them out. Yep, it's time to get them out. So how do you know when to get your potatoes out? By experience. And by experience. By doing. Oh, I think I threw a potato over there. At least it sounded like, oh my God. At least it sounded like it when it hit the ground. See, this one right here is going a little bit deeper. That's why I plant on hills. I believe planting my way gives those potatoes room to grow. They're not bunched up. Like bunched up, they're not being compacted by the soil. Didn't know that was there. Yep. Didn't know that was there. Now, these down here I hadn't even planned on digging up. That's what amazes me. I hadn't even planned on digging these up. Like a box of chocolate. You never know what you're going to get. Sometimes we can, want such a good harvest that we can wait too long. And that's the thing with potatoes. Even sweet potatoes, sometimes you just can't wait that long. You gotta go according to the weather. That is my seed potato. It's about to rot. Most time that gives me a sign that these potatoes are ready. Ooh, wow, wow! God Almighty! Thank you, Jesus. This is what you say. Thank you, Jesus. Thank you, Jesus. That's what I'm talking about. Thank you, Jesus. That's where you give him praise. Right. Little ones are good. Good, but I'll put some of these in garden too. Nice, nice, nice. Sweet. Sweet, sweet, sweet. Yes. My goodness. So let's take a look at our potatoes that we've already harvested. Y'all, if you think this is a good harvest, give me a thumbs up. Leave a comment on how you grow potatoes, or have you grown potatoes? About the thumbs up in the comments. Videos just don't go anywhere on YouTube. That's just the way it is. About the views. YouTube is kind of funny on how they extinguish and how to put videos out there. Once you get so many views, then they'll start putting you out there. Comments and thumbs ups is everything. Look, there's a stink bug. Got him. That's how you start doing pest control. So we're talking about how to determine when to dig your potatoes, when to harvest. Right now I'm looking at those clouds up there. A lot of times you just can't count on what they say. You got to distinguish the weather yourself. And since I'm starting to see dark clouds, I've got a super harvest here. Before I dig any more, I'm gonna have to get these potatoes out of the ground. Wouldn't it be a shame if rain came and I got all these potatoes laying on top of the ground? This row here is Yukon Gold. I got to get all these potatoes up because this is a big harvest here. So I got my potatoes into my little wagon. This is a lot of potatoes. That's a lot of potatoes. Pretty potatoes. Always good for a nice surprise. when I was coming up, you have 2 of those, that would be a bushel. So I was always told that's a half a bushel. And that was a half a bushel. That's almost a bushel. And then we got all those sitting right there in that wagon. God has blessed me with lots, and I haven't even finished yet. I have something I put them in that helps with the airflow. I made a video last year showing that with the sweet potatoes, and I believe with the potatoes, it's what I use every year. It gives good airflow. It creates me to be able to store them until curing time and for canning and eating fresh. So these are the crates that I put them in. They're vegetable crates. I have some that, these are collapsible. I have some that doesn't collapse. And I haven't even made a dent in these potatoes yet as far as putting them up. So this is what I put them into. This is going to give them a place to, you know, get them out of my way. So as I'm all over the floor, you can just lay them out on the floor. I usually try not to have them touching, but I'm going to, you know, be watching them. I think they'll do fine. Usually I don't even have them touching, but I've got such a quantity. I think I'm going to have triple the harvest this year. Actually, all these, if I can get them before 2 weeks time period, the skins will be curing in that time period. But in between 2 weeks, from now to 2 weeks, then I can just wash these and can them. So that's why I'm putting those separate, those little ones separately, because they'll be the fastest and the easiest to can. Whew, what a day. Man, I got abundance of harvest of Yukon Gold and bacon potatoes. And I haven't dug up all the bacon potatoes yet. So I've still got a ways to go. On the other end, like I said, those are a month early. Later. They're a month later planting. So let's take a look at the potatoes I got. I did have some insect issues, some ant issues at the very end down here. Down here I didn't have it. When I started digging down here, I did see the ants, but they wasn't biting on the potatoes yet. The plants still look good, and it was so hard to not leave them in there. But when you start seeing that you're having some ant issues, then it's time to get them out, because they can destroy them pretty much in one day. So let's take a look at the potatoes I got. Some of the Yukon Gold, usually my Yukon Gold get bigger, and I had some nice ones, no joke. Some nice Yukon potatoes here. But I noticed some insect issues, or ant issues. And then I also seen on the potatoes, and I'll know better when I wash some of them up, and I'm not sure if this is ants or, you know, maybe the pH got too high at one end. The pH has got to be a certain level. I think it's 5.6 or something like that. But I've had it higher, you know, and never had an issue. If it gets too high, it will produce a alligator type skin on your potatoes. But I think this is more of ant issues. Will they store well? I don't know, because I've never had ant issues before. So, so my focus is that, you know, are they eatable? Yeah, they're eatable. So my focus is, once again, is that I always save my potatoes, some of my potatoes, for next year's planting. And so I've had these potatoes for, I don't know, maybe 4 years. I don't change out my potatoes. Some people say order new potatoes and change out your potatoes. I don't do that. They're used to my environment. I think that's why they do so well, not counting the way that I do my rows, how I plant. So I'm very happy with it. As long as they're doing well, I'm happy. Vegetable container things I've got off of Facebook Marketing, and I actually got them for free. And then some of them that doesn't collapse, I got them for $2. So it's well worth it, because all now I got to do is put those in there. I don't pile them in there. I just layer them out so they can dry. As you can tell, the soil is still wet on there, but it won't take very long for it to dry. That's why I was trying to beat the rains, because once that dirt, this black dirt, gets on these potatoes, it takes a while to dry. So you can imagine if this dirt was wetter than trying to dig potatoes. And those potatoes right there are the seed potatoes from last year. So those are my seed potatoes. And I plant whole. I don't plant my potatoes. I don't cut them in pieces, because I usually have I save my potatoes, and so I have potatoes, so I don't have to worry about it. I believe they do produce more. That's my theory. Now my grandma, my mama cut them in pieces, cut them in quarters, but then they might get 5 pounds of potatoes, and they're trying to make their rows. And back then everything was, you're trying to save money, and you're trying to produce something other for your homestead. So produce some vegetables, produce fruit. So you always went sparingly. But since I save my potatoes, I don't go sparingly with it. If I got the potatoes, I'm gonna plant them whole. And I do believe, I love the way my plants looked. And so I do believe planting them whole does give you more potatoes. That's just my thought. And I am not going to be digging up any more potatoes today, I don't think. I'm going to get these situated and get them in. No sun today, clouding up more and more. But I'm going to get them situated, and I'll be very happy. I've got enough bacon potatoes down there. I did get some nice sized ones. I do notice that bacon potatoes, they have a lot of little ones. Of course, we're used to seeing big bacon potatoes at the grocery store, and I believe they do those potatoes like they do sweet potatoes. They only pick out the prettiest ones, the best ones. They're not going to put up those little tiny ones there, or the smallest ones, and you can still eat those bacon potatoes when they're small. What I do is I just take and peel them, and then I cut them up and cook them, and they're potatoes. They eat good. Well, guys, thank you so much. I hope this has been some kind of something that you could get something out of. Like I said, I made a video of how to plant potatoes, how I plant potatoes, and it always works very well. And now I'm showing you the harvest of that planting, and so I'm super happy with this, and I'm gonna get in there and start putting these potatoes up and get them out of this weather, because I have a feeling rain is coming. And this has been a very good day. Thank you for watching. I appreciate you so much. And if you haven't subscribed, please go ahead and subscribe, and don't forget to give me a thumbs up, because this was some hard work here. I love making videos, because I hope that somebody can get some information that can help them. I see a lot of comments of people asking questions, and people just they don't have the answer. Some people don't know how to garden, and they're learning. And so that's the purpose of these videos, is to help those to learn how to grow. My tip on this is, from my region on the southeast coast, is that I don't have to let my plants die to dig. If I had followed that theory, I would probably lost all my potatoes. But once again, every year I have to dig my potatoes up, because the rains start coming, and you don't want your potatoes to be sitting into the ground on wet dirt, because they will rot. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you onto the next video. Well, my job is not over. My job is now to get these into the house, and they will cure. Some of them will be canned. This is a lot of potatoes, and some will be given to family. I called somebody this morning to get some what we usually call new potatoes, a little smaller potatoes, because I've got a pail into the house. I've got a pail here. I've got tons of potatoes, and so I don't mind sharing with those that I choose to share with. Thanks, guys, and I'll see you on to the next video. Yep.